Hi, welcome to Reawakening Beauty. I'm your host, Shawna Patruno. I'm so excited to have you here. I love talking about all things skin-related, beauty-related, and mind-related. Here I empower you, mind, body, skin, and soul. I'm here with Madison. I'm super excited to have you here today for so many different reasons. One of them being that you also interview people like I do, but in a very different way. Could you expand on that, Madison?
Absolutely. Well, hi. I'm so happy to be here and talking to you today. It's such an honor that you had me. So, I'm an entertainment news reporter. And to give you a little bit of background, ever since I was a little girl, I've always loved entertainment news. It was a tradition for my mom and I to get into our pajamas and put on our heels and watch our favorite TV shows and literally every single award show. It sounds ridiculous, but I didn't realize I could make TV for a living because it just seemed too good to be true. And I kind of just figured that everybody volunteered in Hollywood because, we just have all the time in the world to do so. But once I realized I could actually get paid to do the one thing I'm most passionate about in life, I went to school for broadcast journalism. I interned at all three stations at the local Arizona area because I went to the University of Arizona. I learned every stage of production so that I could be extremely competitive upon graduation. I ended up doing 12 internships during my 3 years of university, but my first Hollywood internship was with Conan, and he was just like the absolute most amazing boss I could have ever had. I think he's my favorite boss I've ever had. He was just so amazing. And then I headed to TMZ and Entertainment Tonight, and basically what I do is I interview celebrities about their upcoming projects. So anything from music to movies to TV to charities to clothing lines. It's just something that I have a huge passion in, and I love hearing other people's stories.
I'm sure so many people are intrigued with how you got into it and everything like that. So what was your favorite interview? Do you have one to date yet? That's a really hard question. I realize that.
Yeah. It's so hard to pinpoint a favorite just because I don't know if I actually have a quote unquote favorite. But that being said, I have one that's most impactful and meaningful to me, if I can share that one.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so that one is probably Megan Fox. I was the first person to interview her in 15 years, and she took that time to open up to me about her experience with the Me Too movement in Hollywood before Me Too was a thing. So she would tell me that from the very beginning of her career, she was basically put in a position where they were making her, and by they, I mean movie execs, were making her into a sex icon. And at first she was like, oh, this is like kind of cool. Like they think I'm pretty. And then she realized the consequences that comes with that and the responsibilities that come with that. And she quickly realized that it's too much pressure to hold on to. So she would go to these movie execs and be like, I'm begging for help. Please don't do this to me. I'm being put in a situation where I can't handle it. And they're like, no, you're fine. We have to do this. You're a moneymaker this way. And it just got to a point where she would feel like she didn't want to live anymore because she had this pressure of beauty put on her that she just couldn't handle anymore. And she would go to them and she would open up and she would beg for help. And they would just take advantage of her. And she has a lot of stories from sexual abuse to emotional abuse, verbal abuse, and it's heartbreaking. But at the same time, I was so honored that she wanted to stay out of the media for 15 years. She wanted to stay out of the limelight for 15 years. She hasn't done a movie in so long for that reason, but she trusted me enough to open up to me. And I was just very honored to be sitting right beside her.
Wow. I don't even know how to respond to that. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be Megan Fox and be put in that situation. Such a hard topic. And it's really interesting. I really love Megan Fox as a human being and what I've seen from her. And I love the spiritual side to her. Thank you for sharing that. It's a very heavy topic. I wasn't expecting us to go into something so deep, but I do appreciate you sharing some of the things that are happening. And I know that we've touched base on this before, and I shared a little bit of my experience before. Madison, is there anything you wanted to talk about with the Me Too movement that's personally impacted your life?
My experience with the Me Too movement. It has been a thing since the beginning of Hollywood and probably way before that. It's not just in Hollywood, it's in every single industry. And it's just more in the lights in Hollywood because when celebrities speak out, people seem to want to read that more often. It's not that it's more important or more serious than anyone else's claims because every single claim is a serious accusation and it shouldn't be taken lightly. But I think that something very interesting happens when the Me Too movement happened in Hollywood. So coming from like a behind the scenes point of view, before I get into my own personal stories, I think that I came into Hollywood as an entertainment reporter right before the Me Too movement started. So I had this interesting view of Hollywood. I entered into Hollywood to this crazy party scene where you could go out any night and see any A-lister. And they were like living their best life. They would have anybody they wanted at their tables in the clubs and stuff like that. It was wild and there's no rules. It was anything goes. Then the first accusation came out against Harvey Weinstein, and suddenly everything shut down. And still to this day, it's like a pretty big deal if you were to see an A-lister out and about at a club. They just don't go out anymore because not that they're admitting guilt or anything like that. It's just that now they know all eyes are on them. And if they get too drunk or anything, not that they're going to participate in anything that has to do with the Me Too movement, but it's going to be everywhere. So now celebrities are a lot more cautious and they don't really go out like they used to. So the whole like adrenaline, fun, old Hollywood idea that we see in movies and TV is no longer a thing because of the Me Too movement. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I actually think it's probably a really good thing because it's probably saved so many people, including myself, from situations. Not to say that these situations don't still happen because they definitely do, but it happens less often when there's less temptation around. And by temptation, I mean people going out and getting drunk and being surrounded by areas that these usually happened in. So that being said, there was a time where I interviewed a celebrity and I walked into the interview room and they were like, "You're the reporter?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You're too pretty to do this." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna like ignore that comment and do my job. I'm being paid to ask you questions. I'm going to ask you the questions." So I did. The interview was fine. And then I started to leave and they were like, "Wait, hold up. I have to ask you a question." Ran after me, ran into the elevator. So we were the only two in the elevator. He like smacked and like hit a part of the elevator. So the elevator stopped and like pushed me into the corner of the elevator, pinned my hands above my head against the elevator and was like trying to grab my face to like make out with me. And I was like squirming to get out of it. And I was like, "I have a boyfriend," which was true. I really did. And I was just so uncomfortable. And thankfully, nothing happened in that situation. I was able to get out of it because the elevator started moving. But that was definitely a scary situation to feel like you were powerless for a second, especially when you're by yourself with a very powerful person. And then another situation, which wasn't so traumatic, I guess you could say, is right when the Me Too movement started. So, like the first few allegations against Harvey Weinstein, I was on a red carpet holding a TMZ mic flag of all things, meaning I was working for TMZ. And I didn't think the carpet was starting yet, so my back was turned to the carpet. And I feel a hand go from the top of my head and slide all the way down and grab my butt. And I immediately turned around and it was a very big A-lister who is very loved and beloved today. And I was like, "Really? Like this is the like Me Too movement time. Like this is the time where everyone's coming out with their allegations and this is what you think is okay to still do? Like you haven't learned anything or like been scared that someone's going to come out against you with a story? Like does this whole thing mean nothing to you? You really think you're like that powerful that you can just do whatever you feel like?" And then after that, I've had one more experience, and it was when I was working as an intern somewhere, and I had to go deliver a package to an executive producer's room. And I did that, and he wasn't there that day, but on his computer, meaning he was there recently because his computer was still up, it was my Instagram, my Facebook, and my Twitter on his screen. And I was like, that's a little strange. And then the next day I had to do it again, and he was there, and he was being very flirty, and he was like, I have a question. And I was like, okay. And he was like, who is this boyfriend of yours? And I started telling him a little bit, and he's like, well, I know you guys are long distance. Like, when is he coming to visit you? And I was like, okay, he probably saw that on my social media, but he doesn't know that I saw that he saw my social media. So that is a little weird. Like, he's just like openly saying that. And so I set a date, and then I was like, wait, why? And he's like, I just have to know when to get ready for the fight. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, because we're going to fight, and whoever wins gets you. And I was like, no, that's not how it works. And he's like, what do you mean? Your mom's going to love me. We love the same cab. And I was like, how much did you actually stalk me that you know that? And a few years later, time goes by, and he was like, hey, I'm in town. I'm staying at the Ritz-Carlton. You should totally meet me there tonight. And I was like, that's not going to happen. And he's like, I have champagne and chocolate covered strawberries waiting for you in the hotel room. Just meet me there at 8. I'll be back from dinner then. And I never showed up. And it was just like such an uncomfortable situation.
I'm so sorry that you've had those experiences. It's so incredible, like your personality and how you're still able to show up so, I don't know, unjaded in this industry. What helped you get through all of that? Like, what has helped you kind of keep such a positive mindset with what you're doing?
I think the passion at the end of the day. I love what I do so much. And while there are bad apples, that's what they are. They're bad apples. Not everybody in the world and not everyone in Hollywood are powerful and selfish and disgusting. You know what I mean? Some people
Yeah.
are really great people, and you kind of have to like focus on that and surround yourself with that and those kind of people that look out for you and can give you heads up like, hey, by the way, I've heard stories about that person. Don't work with that person before you even go to meet them for the first time. And just like keeping a good head on your shoulders and trusting your gut. I trust my gut all the time. And whenever I feel like there's something fishy going on, that's the end of that. Absolutely not. I just don't put myself in a situation where something could possibly happen. And sure, I've probably let go of some huge opportunities because of that, and probably huge opportunities with people who actually were good people. But for some reason, my gut told me no, and I listened to it.
Yeah. And you always have to trust yourself at the end of the day.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. That was very amazing for you to be so vulnerable. I wanted to ask you, what do you think that we could do as everyday people, as a society, to change this? Do you have anything that you think would be helpful for our society or from your viewpoint?
It's hard because until old Hollywood people are out, it's still going to be a thing. And even then, it's still going to be a thing because new people will come in and will behave the exact same way because they think that they can. Power can do a lot of things for people. I think really the only thing we can do is stick together and be there for each other and believe each other. Like, I think the only thing that we can really do is share our stories. And if you're not ready to share people's names, that's totally fine, but share stories because some people might be sitting there thinking, oh, this is just Hollywood, or oh, this is just whatever industry I'm in. But it's not. It's not okay. And it takes sometimes to hear somebody else's story to realize that it's not okay. And to be there to listen to each other and to be there for one another and to support each other. And I think once we have that community of support, then nothing can get past us. And we can share things and we can be there for each other. And we're stronger in numbers, you know?
Absolutely. So being vulnerable to share your story. And if you're not comfortable sharing your story, like with names and that kind of thing, just kind of share your experience to help others. Because I think so many of us think that we're different and we've gone through these challenging experiences and we're all alone in it and we're powerless. I think when I don't know, for myself and having a situation that had happened with somewhat of a celebrity, you feel powerless to the situation. You feel like you can't speak on it. And you feel like you're almost seeking attention, almost. Some people feel that way.
On that same note, again, trust your gut. Because a lot of times with these powerful people, they'll try to intimidate you. They'll be like, I'll ruin your life. I'll do this. I'll go after your family. I'll make sure you never work in the industry again. There's a ton of different threats.
Yes.
They're not that powerful. If you come out with a story, like if they try to attack you and you go out to whatever media, I'm talking Hollywood here, go to the media and be like, hey, by the way, this person did this. I'm ready to share my story. They're done. They lose all the power. You have all the power at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, good always wins.
I feel like there is a lot of that because they do say, like, I'll destroy you or whatever. And then you get really scared because you're like, what am I going to do?
It's scary because they're intimidating because they are so powerful. But at the end of the day, they're the ones who's wrong. So if you go tit for tat, who's going to lose here? The person who's wrong.
100%. 100%. So with that, we've definitely gotten into some really deep questions. What do you see for your career? Like, what do you envision? And do you have something on your heart that you'd like to share? Because we went really, really deep into some other stuff, and I want to leave it kind of on a positive note. Like, this is all amazing. What is something that's on your heart that you're wanting to have like a ripple impact with that maybe people don't know about you?
I just hope that one day I can have the courage and the voice to just impact people and help people. I mean, I have so many experiences that I've been through in life that a lot of them are like hush hush, like nobody talks about it, even though a lot of people have been through it. And I kind of want to break down those barriers. And I want to stress the importance of communication. And that goes back to the things that we were just talking about earlier. It's important to talk and communicate, because at the end of the day, that's what helps us. That's what helps us heal. It's what helps other people go through whatever they're going through. It helps people learn a thing or two, and it breaks down the stigmas and the stereotypes that go along with things. So I hope that one day I can be a voice of reason for that. And I'd love to create my own show. And I think I'm kind of on my way to doing that as well, because again, I went solo this year and it's been so wonderful. So on that note, for what I can share, just based off of things that I've shared today, I encourage anyone who's listening today to go out, find your passion, and make that passion your career, because I promise you, you're going to find a lot more success following your passion than following the money.
Absolutely. So this is a huge passion project, and you've been sharing some amazing things that you're doing. So you mentioned that you've created your own thing. So how does it feel to have your own platform, switching from TMZ to doing this entrepreneurial journey?
I think what's helped me keep the course is just staying positive and knowing that a no doesn't mean I'm not good at what I do, but a no is just, this isn't the right project at the right time, and to keep going. And I'm going to find what fits me. I'm going to find success because I love what I do, and I literally don't think I can do anything else. So this is going to be great. And just like keep pushing forward and use your own creativity. And if you have to, start something of your own and be an entrepreneur and make it amazing. So just stay positive.
Okay. And then there's one last question before we leave. We talked about women supporting women, and this is a really big thing. Yes. You're a gorgeous woman, and I've heard this from people. Women are intimidated of other women, especially in the same field, which is why I wanted you on my podcast, because hey, we're like competition of what you would say. But I don't see it like that. I see it as let's help each other rise together. What do you feel about this? And women being threatened by other people's beauty, talent, and how can we change this?
I mean, I think it's natural. I think it's natural that we all get jealous and we all get intimidated. I mean, I know I feel that a lot, but at the end of the day, once you feel that emotion, it's important to recognize it and then turn it around and be like, how can we work together? How can we Like, I see this amazing person who is successful, who is beautiful, who has so much going for them. How can I work with them to improve what they've got going on and to also improve what I've got going on? Like, just see that competition as an opportunity. And when you see it as an opportunity, you guys can work together and come up with something amazing and then make a new friends out of it. And it's so much better when we stick together and we are creative and we put our minds together, because I think women are so powerful. So when you put two strong, beautiful, successful women together, you're going to be unstoppable. And whatever you create is going to be so amazing. So why not take that opportunity? Why waste your energy being jealous and sitting in your room and like having these emotions when you could just turn that into something so positive and find even more success on both of your behalf and make a friend out of it?
Absolutely. And you also cut down the middle time too, because now you've got two heads instead of one and you're creating together and you actually can flourish a lot faster. But I think that so many people I can't do this on my own, but it's not just about you, especially in this day and age when we put our talents and energy and we create together, it's bigger, it's better, and it's more impactful. So I'm so happy that I had you here and I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me. And just as an example, like something with you, we decided to create a clubhouse room together. And we were like, let's just kind of make it for women, about supporting women. We were going to talk about this topic. And it ended up going into like such a beautiful conversation where I know I at least have had a lot of people reach out and be like, you and Shawna's clubhouse room literally changed my entire month and my outlook on life. Like, you guys made me realize that I can really become whoever I want to be and that I am perfect just as I am. Like, I don't need to change anything. So I hope that this conversation that we had today can also do that for people and keep pushing that message.
Everyone is perfect exactly where they are. And no matter what's happened to you or where you've been or the challenges you've had, you can start something beautiful, and what has happened to you does not define you. You can just at any point say, I am enough, and start over and create something. And your heart always shines through. And I really believe goodness always outshines darkness. Like it has to.
It has to. And that's what I'm saying. If you find a shining light, if you find an aura that's just glowing to you, instead of being jealous of that person, reach out to that person. See how you guys can work together and come up with something amazing, because the world needs more good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And hopefully we can do more stuff like this.
I would love to. Yes. We'll talk offline too. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Reawakening Beauty. Subscribe to the podcast to hear more inspirational stories and tips related to all things mind, beauty, skin, and soul. I also encourage you to check out the show notes for additional information about my guest, the topics discussed during the episode, and of course, more information about me, your host, Shawna Patruno. If you want to be a guest on the show or just want to reach out and say hi, you can reach me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or email. All these details can be found in my show notes. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing day.